boys, welcome in. We're back. Episode 32, Season 3, Episode 7. It's a lot of numbers.
Too many to remember.
Wait,
sure.
what you said? Season 2?
Season 3.
Three.
Season 3. Episode
7.
But technically, this is our 32nd total episode. Benji, before we started recording, Benji was like, we're on like episode 15. I'm like,
Yeah, we're
moving that way.
it seems like we're only on 15, but we got a lot going out there. So hey,
It is.
Yeah.
We're doing well. I mean, we're killing it. We just so you guys know, we clipped the 9,000 download mark. We are less than 900 downloads away from the big 10,000.
that's awesome. And just I know we've had a lot of new listeners that have come on to listen to the show. We've had a lot of people watching on YouTube. We're out there on all the channels. So thank you so much for just tuning in, and thank you for your feedback. We've had some people comment in. Just thank you so much for listening to us, and whatever we can do to help you and your business, that's what we're here for.
Yeah. Hey, and Brady, just so you know,
Yeah.
episode 15 almost has double the amount of listens as the episode right behind it. That is our top listened to episode. It's the abundancy over scarcity.
All
That's
right.
that's why we hired Brady to be on the show with us.
Yes. So the next
Wait,
one is
when's
six.
that paycheck coming? Because I've not seen anything yet.
Brady, we started monetizing a long time ago,
Oh.
and that goes into Adam's bank account.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't
Okay.
know about that
That's
one.
We're here for Adam.
I don't know about that one. It's supposed to be giving us a discount on our Buzzsprout. Is apparently what it's supposed to be.
Ah.
So
Yeah, listeners, by the way, that is 100% joke. We do not monetize this.
no, we don't. But look, if there's anybody listening, Starbucks, Chick-fil-A,
Yeah.
any of that stuff, I'll eat a sandwich while we're recording. Whatever you need.
Yeah,
So,
we will.
Hey,
if you pay us to eat a sandwich, we will record it and show it on our show, so you can know that we did that.
I will say this though, on a serious note. I mean, not that you guys weren't being serious, but in addition to the podcast, follow us on LinkedIn too. I know each of us are posting out stuff from time to time, and there's some good stuff on there too that may go into a little bit more expanded version of some of the things that we're talking about on here. So if you're a reader instead of a listener, then that might can give you some different insight into some certain things.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Yeah, we do. We keep that going. We stay consistent. Last week was a crazy week. We had 5 nights of prayer. I was sharing with Benji, that was the first time I've ever been a part of that at our church, and it was a different experience. A good experience. Just
Yeah, for sure.
much different than anything I've never actually done that consistently 5 days in like a 10 something like that. Like I've never gone to a 21 days of prayer service or anything like that. So it was a long week, but it was a good week. So
That's awesome.
yeah. So I'm excited jumping in today. This is a topic, Brady, that you were sharing with us, and not to be confused with work life and work and then life balance. But what we're looking at is looking to find that rhythm. You told me, you said, hey, Adam, that's the key word we're looking at today, is finding that
that's right.
quarterly rhythm in your life that you're doing. So talk a little bit. Jump into that. You were sharing some things, some awesome insights to what this is. I think this is a perfect episode for anyone that might feel like they're out. I can tell you last week, that's where I felt like we were working 8 to 8 every day, 5 days a week. It's been busy. This entire month of August has been busy. So I'm excited to kind of dive in and hear what y'all have to say to figure out, how do I get back into that? Because for me, I feel like I'm off right now. So
Yeah.
Well, hey, you know what, Adam? We will do this episit just for you, buddy.
out here.
Hopefully this will help you out. So yeah, I think the thing that we're talking through, we had I think it was a couple episodes ago we were talking about halftime and really halfway through the year, you're in the locker room, those types of things. This is in the same vein as that, but more of how do we get into a rhythm in life and in business. We'll probably talk primarily more about business because that's kind of the world that we live in, but these principles can live in your normal life too. I think it's one of my favorite quotes, and I've probably said this on here. I sound like a broken record sometimes, but Zig Ziglar said, if you aim at nothing, you hit it every time. And so when we're talking about goals or targets or certain things, I think this is in that same sphere as well. Is if you just look out into your life or into your business and man, a year is a really long time. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it's 365 days. It's a grind, But we've talked about here on the show that I'm a huge planner. I love organization. I love task list. I love all those, anything that goes along with that. I'm the type of guy that if there's something not on my task list, but I do the task, I will go back and add it to the task list and check it off. I'm that type of person.
Brady,
But
I will say this though, that I think the older we get, the shorter the year seems to get. It
well,
seems
yeah,
to
that's
speed up a
very
lot faster.
very
And with
true.
kids, like I
Oh
heard
yeah,
Emily the other day. I can't believe Addie's a year from going into like 6th grade,
Oh yeah,
and I'm just
man.
I want it. I want that time back.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, for sure.
So we're talking about rhythm. It's Benji and I are very musical. We're both worship leaders at our church, and so this kind of resonates with us to some degree because when you have a song that is out of rhythm, just think about like you're listening to something, you're listening to a song. There's words that are being sung, but there's no beat.
Yeah,
There's no rhythm to it. Something just seems off, right? Because there's no structure. There's no, it's just the rhythm. So when we're talking about rhythm, we're really talking about in business, so things feel off. Adam, you said that things kind of feel off or chaotic right now, so how can we step into rhythm to help us get back into what we're trying to accomplish? So when we think about a rhythm, like a quarterly type rhythm is you've probably got like a strategic planning session that you've done sometime in like Q4, right? So you're setting priorities for the year, but then each quarter is going back, and we'll dive in some of the details, but each quarter you're reevaluating what those priorities were and are they still on track. So Q1, you're looking back, or how are we doing? Q2 is really that halftime. But that's when we get into a rhythm of every single quarter or every single month or every single week, whatever that looks like. So when we get out of rhythm, what we start to see, and I see a lot of this in leaders and in business and even personal, is what are some of the symptoms that happen when we get out of rhythm? Those symptoms are we start to drift, okay? Which means we have unclear priorities. Maybe we're chasing distractions instead of chasing what it is that we should be working on. This next one I see a lot is burnout.
yeah,
So when you don't have clear direction, when you don't have a clear target, then burnout is a very real thing, and that's when you want to like reset. But then when you also get out of rhythm, then we talk about being proactive versus reactive. Reactivity is a symptom of not being in rhythm. And so when we get out of rhythm, these are the symptoms. I don't know if we've ever talked about Stephen Covey on the show before, but I love what he says. He says that the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, okay, but it's to schedule your priorities. So think about that a minute. Why don't y'all just give me some reaction to that? The key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. And go ahead, Benji.
And I was going to say, for me, I think it goes back to what we were talking about with the reactive versus proactive approach. A lot of leaders, we've seen this, Brady, in the line of business that we're in. Other franchisees, we have friends that are running other businesses. They're always saying, "Man, I can't figure out how to get to that place, or how do I get to that goal?" And they're always behind the 8 ball versus trying to be out in front of the 8 ball. And that goes to what you just said. How do we schedule? We have to have a cadence. We owe it to ourselves to have a calendar, have a task list, so that we can plan properly and always be looking ahead. Doesn't mean you can't be. You're going to have to be reactive sometimes. Let's be honest.
Yep.
Things come our way, but if we can stay mostly proactive in our approach, then our priorities are not what's, we're always trying to schedule those priorities versus trying to react to how we can figure what those priorities should be.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to where is my energy best delivered for today.
Yeah.
And I think that's finding those. That's what I love about that is, okay, I have so many hours in a day. What are the things that I need to prioritize that need to get my energy, right? Like, what do I need to work on now? That's something we're working through as well. Like, we're moving from a mom and pop church to a corporate church. Like, hey, Pastor Jeremy said it yesterday. You got to stop just knocking on doors. You got to stop knocking on doors. We've got to send people messages, go through a system, because people have other priorities, and you don't realize even something, you may need help with something for 5, 10, 15 minutes. Like, hey, can you help me with that? How are you changing your verbiage, right? So when you go to someone, hey, do you have the capacity for this? Can you help me with this right now? And then be okay with them being like, I don't have the capacity. I can't help you with it right now. But that is something we talked about too. It's not just on the askee, it's on the asked to be okay with those things. I have to prioritize, hey, I don't have the energy for this right now. I know it could probably take 10 minutes, but man, I'm in the middle of something right now. If I stop, I'm going to lose momentum. So I think that's something that's important for anyone right now is, one, be okay to say no, and figure out, where do I really need to put my energy is best suited today? Is this something I can do tomorrow? Is this something I can do later in the day? Is this something where we can schedule to sit down together? So
Yeah.
where's that energy going?
And Brady,
That's
this
good.
just triggered a point too, because this is great about scheduling priorities. I'm mentoring a gentleman at the office, and we were talking about, how do you actually run your schedule? And the way he runs his schedule is, whatever happens through the day, he just reacts to it. And that, he told me that. He said, I want to get better. I want to. And so what we figured out was, in our line of work, there are people out there that may be listening that are Pepsi drivers. They got to go drop off Pepsis to this store and that store, and that they're just restock, right? In our line of business, it's the same concept. We go see a number of centers of influence throughout the day, and then what he was doing is he's waiting till the end of the day to remember who he talked to, what he talked about, and documenting that accordingly. And I said, what if you could just take 30 seconds when you finish a stop, 30 seconds, and document that visit? What we've just done is picked you up an extra 45 minutes a day because you're being proactive. You're not being reactive. That's a real life situation, scheduling your priorities.
Yeah. No, I think that's so good. And Adam, when you were saying about, saying no to stuff, the reality is, when you say yes to something, that means you're saying no to something else.
Absolutely.
So that's good. You were also talking about there's only 24 hours in a day. I remember talking to somebody, I won't name any names, but they're like, no, I get 25 hours in a day. And I'm like, okay, how do you do that? He said, well, I drink 5-hour energy drinks every day.
Goodness.
I'm like,
His heart's going to explode.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the key, but
Hope he doesn't have coffee
kinda,
with it.
well, yeah. So kind of getting back to rhythm is, let's look at it from a biblical standpoint, okay? God actually made this a part of his design, and he doesn't call it a quarters, he calls it seasons. And, we were kind of talking about this pre-show, but you've got winter, spring, summer, and fall. And so why didn't God just, create the earth, and then we've got one season, that kind of rules them all? So I think he wanted us to be in somewhat of a rhythm of, okay, so for me, the way I think about it is, okay, yeah, we've got priorities for the year, but my first sprint, I've never run a marathon. I know Sarah has, Benji, and maybe she does this, but you're looking at like milestones along the way. If I can just get to that point, right, then I know where I'm at. And then beyond that, I got to the next point, So that's why I think about the year is, okay, let's get to Q1. Let's get to the end of Q1, and then let's reset. And then let's get to the end of Q2. So now I've got shorter milestones or shorter targets, and that's what this is. And really, this is not when we talk about rhythm, we're not saying it's like a productivity hat or hack. Okay, the kids say life hack. This is not a life hack. All right, but it's really an alignment. What we're trying to do is align ourselves with the way that God has designed us to work. Because work is good. That's what we were created to do, is to worship and to work. And so when we think about seasons and rhythms, that's what we're looking at from a biblical perspective.
If you think about that too, I mean, that's really good. You think about that, it really makes sense if you keep yourself in rhythm. It's just like you said earlier. I got a buddy of mine who has a pacemaker in his heart, and you can hear that
Oh
thing
yeah.
beating sometimes, and man, it is so loud. Like if he's, to your point, if he's singing on stage, he has to hold his mic a certain way because you can actually hear the beating of that pacemaker, and sometimes that thing gets out of rhythm, and you're like, "What?" He goes, "What just happened?" So that's so good that if we challenge ourselves to stay in rhythm, I believe we can be a lot more productive. We can get more things done. We stay aligned with what God designed in the different seasons in life and
Yeah.
different seasons that are in front of us and such. That's good.
Well, and I'm about to drop a new segment on y'all. It's going to be called Adam
Uh-oh.
Asks. So,
All right.
but I'm
Oh,
thinking
please come up with a graphic for that and like flash.
Adam Asks, knew it. So, and I'm asking this as a young entrepreneur myself. We've been very busy this year. The media company that I do, I've had a lot of requests, and it's good. It's good for business. It's good for me. Obviously, I have days where I work with you guys. I work with other clients. But what I'm trying to find out, you're talking about resting in biblical. Obviously, we're called to rest. It's tough for me because my rest day is a work day.
Yeah.
And so now what I say is the church gives us that. So we're off Friday and Saturdays. But where I feel like I struggle with is because I get requests and I hate saying no, and my wife works, our daughters are in school. So why not go do something? That's where I'm trying to figure out, how do I learn to balance that? Because it's tough. So like, I don't take Fridays off. I'm at some Fridays I'm working with you guys on projects we have. Other Fridays I'll go work with other clients or do video projects, anything. I feel like sometimes, and I don't know if anybody else is listening or any other entrepreneurs, that's where I struggle with, is where do I find my rest? Because for me, I'm working basically Saturday through Friday, and Sunday through Friday. Saturday is like a family day. So yes, sometimes we rest, sometimes we're busy. That's where I'm struggling with, as someone that's trying to find that rhythm, is being okay with taking a Friday off, because I feel like I don't. If I'm off on Friday, I'm leaving money on the table,
Yeah.
and
So
that's what I'm doing.
all right, we are going completely like derailing right here, but that is really good, Adam, because I can promise you what Brady just talked about with rhythm and staying in alignment to be productive. It's what God has designed us to do. So I would challenge other business owners and leaders to think about exactly what you just said. There are times that, and Brady will tell you this too, there are many Sunday afternoons after church, after we've led worship, we've been up since early in the morning. It's not a quote work day, but Sunday afternoon, we are diving into projects that he and I have as owners. There are Saturday mornings that we hop on the computer. Yeah, we take time to watch a football game or a basketball game or whatever. We spend time with the kids, don't get me wrong. But there are some times as an entrepreneur and a business leader, if you want to stay ahead, that's our planning time. A lot of that time is our planning time. And we go through that. We go through seasons as well. I believe that some entrepreneurs that don't do exactly what you're talking about, yeah, they're going to get burnt out. They're going to have, you have to take time for yourself. At the same time, it depends on how fast. Our dad taught us this a long time ago. How fast do you want to get ahead in life? Do you want to retire when you're 70, or do you want to retire when you're 60? You know, and he wasn't telling us to work 500 hours a week. That wasn't what he was saying. He was saying prioritize what you need to prioritize, including your own off time. That's a priority.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say this is somewhat of a struggle for me, you know, because when we talk about, we've talked about C12 a lot. In C12, we talk about rest and retreat. You know, there's really two different definitions for rest and retreat. But when we look at it from a biblical perspective, you know, God worked in Genesis, he worked 6 days and then he rested. So he really set up what's called the Sabbath. And honestly, that's something I've been contemplating for a while, is, you know, what does true Sabbath look like? And I got a friend of mine that what he does is, so Saturday afternoon, 12 o'clock p.m. to 12 p.m. the next day is Sabbath. And so he'll lock down the phone, or, you know, not that doesn't mean he's not reading the Bible for 24 hours. That's not, or he's praying for 24 hours. It's just that he's turning off distractions and he's contemplating, spending, you know, quality time with family or whatnot. You know, I know some people that do, like in the old like Jewish tradition is something called Shabbat, so they'll during Sabbath they have a dinner, so things like that. But I think it's important. And Adam, so going back to your question, what I've tried to do, and this is something I need to get better at, is what does true Sabbath look like? But when it comes time to spending time with the Lord, or our what we Christians call devotion time, that can be a mini Sabbath. So you're 30 minutes to an hour and turning off the distractions, but again, it's something that you're building into a rhythm, because what we're trying to get to is kind of a cycle. What is the rhythm? And it's a cycle of effort, it's a cycle of pause, it's a cycle of reflection, and it's a cycle of growth. So what Benji was talking about, cycle of growth, but you got to have all four of those to really get into. It kind of goes into something else as far as Stephen Covey. We talked about him earlier, but I would highly encourage you guys. There's a great book out there called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah.
I've read it. A lot of our team has read it and gone through it.
Brady, I've actually read that one.
Boom. Virtual fist pump right there. Pow. But what he talks about is a lot of times what we get stuck in is in the urgency. So he's got these 4 quadrants. We get stuck in the urgency instead of the important. And one of my mentors, he's real strong on, Brady, what is the highest and best use of your time?
Yes.
Because you can do a lot of stuff. You have the ability to do a lot of stuff, but your position, what is the highest and best use of that time? So that when we look at and talk about rhythms, and I love that the cycles of effort, pause, renewal, growth. I mean, sometimes I'm going so hard that I'm like, whew, man, okay. Man, I got to take an afternoon off. I don't want to look at anything, and just kind of, and a lot of times what, I know Melissa and I, my wife, will do is sometimes we'll just, that's at night. We're just like, let's just veg and, just kind of sit and watch a show or, something like that. But you got to have times of rest. You do have to work in some rest in there too. So, as leaders, we have a big responsibility to make sure that we give our teams the best of us.
Yeah.
And so the way that we give the best of us is we can't constantly be pouring out, but we have to be poured into as well.
Oh, yeah.
And part of that pouring into is that rest and routine and what that looks like.
That's really good.
So,
Adam,
any other thoughts you got on that?
Adam didn't realize he was walking us right into our next subject.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I know you're talking about biblical, and that's because that's something I'm trying to I say that because I get told all the time at the office, like, Adam, take a Friday off. It's just tough, and it's like, because it's like, and it's really a lot of the stuff that you guys have talked to us is like, how are we going to change our family tree? How are we going to do these things? And that's something Emily and I looked at when we even decided to begin like I never in a million years had a plan to be an entrepreneur, but here I am, and this is what I'm doing. And so, but we always said, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Worth the squeeze, yeah.
So if I get offered a potential job, if it doesn't pay for my time. So for me as a video producer, my goal is always I want to make, and y'all may think it feels like a lot. I say between 75 and 100% profit. What I'm trying to do is make that money back because I'm counting in everything I'm doing, my gear, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at those things and trying to do that. And if it doesn't fit into that quadrant, is it worth the time to do it? Because then also on the backside, and this is just my heart, God's given me a skill, God's given me a craft. I believe there's times that I should share that. And so I have people that will reach out, that'll say, hey, can you do this and that? And if I know like something about them, or if they've done a lot, I may say, hey, you know what? You've served the church. You do this. Let me serve you. I'm not going to charge you for this. Let me do something. I'll come take some photos, And so I try to do this. So that's why I was asking that, because I'm trying to figure out, well, where is my energy best? Because I think you're talking about rhythm, Brady. That's where my rhythm's getting off. I need to look at those things.
Yeah.
Because if it's getting thrown off with the business side, it's going to throw off in family life. It's going to throw off in my full-time job. It's going to throw off everywhere.
Mm.
So let's maybe kind of get some practical stuff, and I don't know this, guys. You tell me what you think. Maybe this is another 2-part episode. There's a lot of stuff.
It definitely is. This is good.
It is, but I think this is one of those things that, I mean, you guys are struggling with it. It's something I struggle with. I think it's something anybody, even non-business owners, where is my time and how do I find that and get into a rhythm? I think it's a
so let's start with this. Let's on this one, let's talk about what a quarterly rhythm looks like in business, and then when we come back next week, we'll talk about what it looks like in personal life and family, and then we'll wrap it up. But so in business, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but it all starts with the strategic plan. Okay, so that's typically, I know a lot of organizations will do a strategic plan either at the end of Q4. We typically try to do it like in November, right before Thanksgiving, and that gives us December to really iron it out and make sure that it's good, and get ready for the next year. I know some people don't do a strategic plan until Q1 of the following year. Whatever your rhythm is fine, as long as I think it's an important. So think about this. The strategic plan is the destination.
Yep.
Okay, so we're setting a course, we're setting a destination, and then what our quarterly rhythms will do for us is they help us to course correct. So when we get to the end of Q1, here was the plan that we outlined. Hey, how's that plan going? Is there any adjustments, or is there any things that we need to change up? So that's where it begins. So again, setting the strategic direction. And then listen, the goal of the strategic plan, and we have a whole episode, Adam, I don't even know what episode number that was, but you can go back and listen, strategic planning.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll put in the show notes, but the goal is not to come up with like 100 different objectives.
Yeah.
What we try to do is for each of our leaders, we come away with 2. So we start with 5, and then we work that 5 in strategic planning. The leaders come, they present 5 to the group, and then what we walk away with is 2 for each leader. And we have, I think, 20. So our 10 leaders, so we'll come up with 20 objectives. But for their department, for their division, there's only 2 things that they're really focused on. Because if you have more than 2 per division, more than 2 per leader, too many goals, it really dilutes focus. And we want to stay focused on what we're trying to do, so it drives alignment with the team. And then what we're going to do is we're going to review that every quarter. There's a book by Patrick Lencioni called Death by Meeting. It's really good. I love the way that he writes books, because he tells like a fable or a story, and then in that story, like 75% of the book is fiction. He's writing a story about what he's trying to talk about, and then the last 25% is, okay, here's the stuff. So it's a really good book, and it kind of outlines some of this stuff. But every quarter, you're going off-site. Take your team off-site somewhere. Don't do it in the office. There's too many distractions. If you can go somewhere, fun, or, like, I'm not making fun of you, but, he would like something that's very, in nature, or something that's creative, something
outside.
that's sparks the creative juices,
Bougie? To something bougie?
But that might be bougie.
I need to be outside because every job I've had has put me in a closet.
Oh, there you go.
So,
Well, there you go. There you go. Need some windows. But get your team away from the office, and that way that you can have, some really good discussions about, what worked. So we're kind of reviewing what worked, and did we miss the mark on anything? We had a goal. We should be 25% of the way of the goal to hit it. Are we 25% there? And if we need to adjust course, we readjust course. But it's also a time that we can take those objectives and say, okay, maybe we weren't as focused on these objectives as we should have been. So let's recommit. All right, team, let's recommit. These are the things that we talked about. These are the most important things that we need to focus on. So let's recommit as a team, and let's go into the next quarter with what are we doing. So what would you guys have to say about that?
I will say this. I remember when our team first did this, it was very reactive, which we talked about earlier in the show. But what it's turned into is it's turned into our folks being more proactive. Not that we're 100% of the way there, just so you leaders and business folks are listening. But again, in your day-to-day life, there are going to be times that you have to be reactive, but most of the time we should be proactive, which sets the plan, sets the course, and gives everybody a clear objective of what we're going to work towards. And that's the key focus.
Yeah, I think it's good to have. That's something we're doing this year. We're actually working through it now. We do our quarters are offset, so we don't stick to a true calendar year. And so we're working through that strategic plan now. We actually just had ours, went through, Pastor Jeremy shared, hey, our word for this year is intentionality. We need to have this. Everything
I
we
love
do
that.
has to have intention behind it toward the greater goal. And so what our goal is as a team is Sundays first, Wednesdays second, and then everything else is behind that. Ministries, other things. Like that's how we position how we're intentional is like, hey, our focus needs to be Sundays first, then Wednesdays, because we do discipleship on Wednesdays. We have all those things. And then the ministries that fall behind: men's, women's, small groups, kid, all that stuff. And so we're doing that now and then evaluating those things. We actually, for us as our creative team, we evaluate weekly. So that's something for us that works well, is every week is different. We have issues each week, whether it's audio, whether it's visual, whether it's anything. So every Monday we evaluate these things and try to figure out where things are. We have what's called the Monday morning document. So every morning our job is to go in and fill out, good, bad things that happened on Sunday. And then we have a Tuesday meeting where we talk through those. In that same thing, we put, hey, this is what I'm working on this week. And for me, I said, this is high priority, mid priority, and low priority. So I split out the different things I'm working on that, hey, if something happens and I don't get to it this week, it can be pushed back, or, hey, these have got to get done this week. I can't let anything stand in my way. So, and we do that to figure out exactly what you're talking about, Brady. At what point do we need to shift focus? Hey, I don't have the capacity of this. Where's something I can help you with? Hey, guys, I can't do it. So that's the other side too, is that teamwork side. What can I do to help facilitate the projects you're working on that need to get done?
Well, and what these objectives and this quarterly rhythm does is it really it supports accountability and it supports alignment. Okay, so team alignment. Everybody probably knows who Steve Jobs is, the guy that was at Apple and developed all these things that you probably have in your pocket right now or your computer. Just excellence was at the top, and they really did this. Because what he was really big on, maybe this is another episode, but he said what I try to focus on. I think he had like a 16-hour window, but he said there's a lot of noise that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I try to focus on the signal. I'm focused in on what is the highest and best use of my time? What things should I be focused on? So he had something he said deciding what not to do is just as important as deciding what to do.
That's good.
Yeah.
And so what these rhythms do for us is, with alignment and accountability, is you may work with somebody, and Benji and I are like this too. We'll say, oh, we got this new shiny thing we want to do. Here's this new, I've got this new idea. I got this new thing, And what it does is it creates alignment with the team that says, okay, well, hang on, guys. We can do that. Like, you are the leaders, and we will follow what you're wanting to do. But you also said last week that these were our priorities.
Yep.
And this is what we're doing. So if you want us to do this new thing, then we need to make a decision as a team to take this old thing off. Oh, no. That's not, okay, I got you. Let's put that on a grass catcher list. It sounded really good in the moment, but let's put that to the back burner. We need to stay focused on what we're doing. And there's all kind of systems that are out there that can help you guys. I mean, I'm thinking of, if you guys are familiar with EOS.
Yeah.
EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, they have what's called the quarterly rocks, and that leads up to your annual objectives. There's another system out there called 40X. I think that was actually by Stephen Covey, but they're basically the same, with lead and lag measures and KPIs and KPMs and objectives and targets, all these things. That there are systems that are out there that you don't really have to go create something, that you can that you can just, if you like me, sometimes I do like to create, but other times I'm like, hey, if there's already a proven system out there, let me follow that. And what this will do is just keeps us again in alignment with, there's always going to be something urgent that's out there, but this keeps us aligned to what are we really focused on.
Yeah.
That's good
That's
stuff.
good.
I will tell you guys that we've got more to come with this episode. This is the first one. Obviously, we're going to be shifting to the next one is going to wrap this whole segment up. But we just want to say again, thank you guys so much for tuning in to us. We appreciate you listening, appreciate your feedback. You can catch us on all social platforms at Higher Up Podcast. And always, you can go to our website, higheruppodcast.com. You can subscribe to any channel you'd like, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, whatever you enjoy doing. We want to say thank you again for listening. And as always, go out and choose to live a higher up life. See you next time.